Hey guys, it's Allison and welcome to my channel. This is a very special kind of video, Halloween edition, just for you guys. Now I have some really crazy stories for you, for things that I've encountered myself, my family has encountered in this very house, and it dates back to before we even lived in this house. If you're very vulnerable to scary things, just know like none of these stories were made up, it's not coincidence, and I can't even express these stories to my friends because they get really freaked out and then don't want to come to my house anymore. So just know it's real. Honestly, I'm like getting goosebumps even thinking about it. Fortunately for us, we haven't had anything more recently happen. Okay, so before I get into my stories, let me give you a background on this house. So when we first moved in here, we had these neighbors and they explained to us a story of a little girl and I guess her father or some man that she lived with. And something you should know about my neighborhood as well, every corner house has a balcony. My house is the only one that does not have a balcony. So, the story that they explained to us was that this little girl fell off of our balcony and died. That's why we think we don't have a balcony, because you can clearly see the lines on my house where there used to be one. So I don't know why else they would take it off, like why take off a balcony, I don't know. We're the only house that doesn't have one though. So when we first moved in this house, I was really little, like I was in the first grade, and I was always getting mixed up with the little girl that would appear in my house. And my sister, I remember her coming up to me and being like, "Did you walk over me?" She was like laying on the floor on her stomach, like doing her homework or something, and I was just like, no, like I don't even have pantyhose, because she was like describing the girl to me and she had like little black shoes on. This is like an old story, so I don't know exactly like the details because like I said, I was super young, but I remember that. Another time, which is probably one of the freakiest stories, my sister was taking a shower and she heard a little girl singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. After she came up to me and was like, "Were you singing outside of the bathroom?" And I was like, "No, like, no." That is just creepy enough to me. Any time of day, anywhere, anyhow, like that shit is fucking scary. Me being the most horrible sister that I was, like a couple of days after, when she was like taking a shower, I actually started singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider outside of her bathroom because I don't know, like I guess I wanted to scare her. And yeah, she freaked out. She opened the door so fast and I was like, alright, but for real, like the first time it wasn't me. Another sight with the girl, my sister Janice, she was watching my little brothers. They were super small at the time and they were like in the den watching TV, and she just remembers like she looked down the stairs and literally just saw the girl skip across the bottom of the stairs. She had to run downstairs and grab my brothers, but like that, oh my god, that one actually gave me goosebumps. Besides that, from that time frame, from when we first moved in here, the only thing that I can remember me encountering is like I went downstairs, both of my sisters were blasting music, like different music in their rooms, and I went downstairs and I was just dancing in the living room and I heard something fall like in my kitchen. But I was in my living room and my kitchen was like on this side, like across from the wall, and I like looked over and I saw like a shadow on my trash can and I freaked out. I ran upstairs and I just like, I stood with my sister for the rest of the day because that freaked me out. I think I was probably in like 3rd grade at that time too. That was all that we had to deal with that little girl. After that, like once she was gone, she was gone. We haven't seen her, we haven't heard from her or anything. But around like 10th grade was when things started getting like really crazy in my house and we started having more paranormal things happening, but it was not the little girl. She was not just like walking around, skipping around. This dude, I forgot what we named him, but he was not very nice. He like purposely tried to scare us. He threw things around our house and it was not a fun time. When this stuff started happening, me, my mom, and my sister, we were watching Ghost Adventures like all the freaking time. We had just started watching the show, and I remember I went to like a Michael Jackson contest thing. It was just like a dance contest. But that night when we came home was when everything just started happening. My parents are sitting in their living room and they're watching SNL. It's late at night and all they hear is a big bang in the kitchen. And all you see are like some marbles coming, like rolling in to the living room. They were like, what the fuck was that? So they go to check, and in my kitchen we used to have a shelf on one wall, and then on the other wall was where the dishwasher was and the sink and all that. Some of the things on that shelf literally flew across and hit the dishwasher hard enough to make a dent in the dishwasher, and that's where like some of the other things like kind of rolled off into the living room as well. And the things that fell or that were thrown, this like really small like clear clock that like never worked, and also this like baseball looking wooden dude. Like the clock completely broke apart. They had to piece it back together. We cleaned it up, we put the stuff back, and we were like, alright, like whatever, it happened. And yeah, that event was what kicked off this dude being in my house, whoever the fuck this ghost was. The craziest part about this story, I would say, is the very next day. My brothers are always like calling their friends, talking to them on the phone, and they'll have them on like speakerphone even. When my brothers were talking on the phone with their friends the next day, like all of a sudden, the phone cuts off. And at the exact precise moment that it cuts off, the alarm clock that was flown the night before starts going off. I have goosebumps on my face now. That shit was just like, wow. Because like I said, that alarm clock never worked. Never. And it was just like really creepy to go from like his friend like being on the phone to and then another alarm going off at the same time. Like, what the fuck? But we haven't even gotten to the best story yet. The one that was honestly the scariest for me that I encountered along with my sister. Okay, so earlier in the day, me and my mom and my sister, we have like so many movies, like at least 1,000 movies, because I mean my family is just like movie fanatics. We have like every movie possible, like 2 times on Blu-ray and on DVD. But we were just like organizing all of the movies inside of my dad's closet, which is like on a shelf like high in his closet. Later on that day, everybody left. My parents went out. I think they took my brothers with them, and it was literally just me and my sister at home. Now my room is like completely across the hallway from her, right? I'm sitting in my room. I have my little like SanDisk MP3 player, and I have headphones in. All of a sudden I hear this big crash somewhere in my house. I know it's upstairs. I just like stood there for a while, like waiting for something else to move. Nothing did. So I called out my sister and I kind of opened the door and peeked my head out. It was at nighttime too, so there was no light. So we both kind of like peeked at each other from across the hallway, and I was like, was that you? She was like, no, was that you? I was like, no. We knew that this ghost was around, so we just kind of was like, alright, we're gonna shrug it off, we're gonna figure out what it was and move on. We're like, we're not gonna act afraid of this dude because he's a fucking asshole, you know? Okay, so we are kind of just peeking around in our house. I look in my parents' room, and all of the movies, like not all of them, but like a stack this big, no joke, at least this big, like that's like 20 to 30 movies completely thrown off the shelf. And I don't mean just fell off the shelf, I mean like 5 feet away. I can't even remember how far, but it was far as fuck. That means a big enough force had to have taken enough energy to throw this stack of movies across the fucking room. When I saw that on the floor, I was like, okay, my dad just started playing that, like what a coincidence. Anyways, we're just like, we knew exactly what it was. We picked up the movies and we put them back. And then we were like, not even gonna acknowledge it. We went back to our separate rooms. Now, I put my headphones back in and I heard another noise. And this is a very distinct noise in my house because there's only one doorknob that sounds like this, and it is the bathroom right in between both my sister and my room. It was loud enough for me to hear through my headphones. No joke. I heard it, I took out my headphones, and it just kept on going. It was just the doorknob shaking. I literally just sat there and listened to that, knowing that it was the fucking ghost. What else would it be? When it stopped, I screamed out my sister's name. We both opened our doors, and I was like, was that you? And she was like, yeah, it was probably me just walking around my room. And I was like, phew. So I was able to go back in my room and just chill out. Later on, when my parents get home, I find out it wasn't her just walking around. She heard it too. She just didn't want to freak me out. That was honestly the scariest thing that has happened to me. Another really freaky situation, which I still can't tell if this was connected to the ghost, but this happened to my brother. My mom was just watching TV like late at night, and my brother, who was like in elementary school, he had to have been in like the 3rd grade. He came running into my mom's room crying, straight bawling his eyes out. He's like never done this, and it happened during that time frame when we had stuff happening. And she was like, what's wrong, what's wrong? He was like, the number's on the wall, the number's on the wall. And he just knocked out, and she was like, what are you saying? Like, what are you talking about? And that's all he would say, the number's on the wall. I think like the next day we asked him what it was, and he was like, I was trying to go to sleep, but there was this really bright light, and it was changing numbers. It was saying like 27, 28, 29. He said that he was like trying to make it stop, so he was like banging on the wall, and it would just start blinking and going faster. And when it got to the number 29, his ears started hurting really bad. And that's the reason why he ran out and was crying, because he had like a physical pain in his ear. We've always had things just like being thrown across the rooms. I remember like being asleep in the middle of the night and like my entire shelf completely like just like fell. Everything on top of it fell. And at that point, like I already knew like what it was, so I was just like, I would like yell at the ghost. I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house, like I don't even care, like, you know, like I would just, after like my shelf fell, I just went back to sleep. That whole time, me, my mom, and my sister were still watching Ghost Adventures. Like usually the ghost would like target my mom when she's like by herself completely. One time she was like downstairs like on the computer or something, and all of a sudden the TV in the den turns on at full volume, like playing Family Guy or something, and it scared the absolute shit out of her. She just went over there thinking that one of us came downstairs and she didn't hear us, but no, it just turned on by itself. Another time, I think my mom was upstairs in her room and she heard a loud crash, boom noise. She just explained it being like so loud. She just ran immediately outside and did not come back inside the house until someone else got home. I mean, I would have done the same thing, honestly. When we were living it, it was just like, you would watch it on a movie and be like, yo, I would have like ran out the house, I would have packed my bags and I would have never came back or something, you know? When things got as bad as it did, it was just like The Conjuring, like they weren't financially stable enough to just get up and leave, and neither were we, so we kind of just had to deal with it and hope that it would go away at some point sometime. And luckily for us it did. That was going on for months, and finally me, my mom, and my sister, we were like, we're so over this. We didn't want anything to do with like ghosts at all. We stopped watching that show, Ghost Adventures, and I kid you not, the ghost went away. We truly believe that like watching that show just kind of like opened a portal for whatever wanted to come into our house, just come and mess with us. Because I don't think it's really that much of a coincidence that when we started watching that show and when we stopped watching that show was that time frame when we had all these things happening. So I think this is just a lesson to know that literally your mind is so powerful, and whatever you feed yourself, like through your eyes, through like what you surround yourself with, what you watch, everything matters, because that is just opening a way for all of these things to come into your life. I still watch scary movies because I genuinely love scary movies. I love Halloween. I love the month of October. I love everything spooky. But that show specifically, I will not watch. So thank you guys for listening to my spooky stories. If you got spooked, give it a like. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more like this video, give it a like. And let me know any other kind of stories that you might want to hear. Maybe I have some for you. And thanks for watching. So I'll catch you guys later. Have a great spooky Halloween, rest of your fall, and I'll catch you later. Bye!